Good afternoon, and thank you for being here for today's event. Now I invite Dr. N.S. Rao Garu to MC the event. Dr. Rao Garu is a well-known person. I don't have to give a big introduction. He's active in the Aurora Balaji temple. You might have seen him several times. And also a retired surgeon in the Chicago area, and a very good supporter of whatever we do, and role model. Uncle?
Thank you all. I'm Dr. N.S. Rao. I'm a retired surgeon. So the topic today is going to be very nice for me. At least it'll be a refresher course for me. Let me first introduce Dr. Gopal Lal Malani. I've known him for over 40 years, and now he's the village president of Oak Brook. And he's done a tremendous job, not only as a village president, but also being a president of API in the past, and making sure that Usmania Medical School was one of the items that to collaborate the things that we have done in the past. So I think he's a cardiologist. He's still practicing with all this busy work he has with the presenting the village of Oak Brook. But I think all in all, he's a good man, and I hope he'll be here for a long time to come. My next introduction is Dr. Vemuri Murthy, who have known him again for another 35 to 40 years. We worked together at West Suburban Medical Center in Oak Park, and he was our chief anesthesiologist. And he's done tremendous work, not only here, but also in India, being the president of the trauma center here, president of the India Heart Association. And I can't tell you what all he's involved with, but his main subject is what we're going to hear today: resuscitation and how to take care of patients who have immediate cardiac arrest and stroke and what have you. So let me not take much thunder out of this talk, and thank you.
First of all, good afternoon and welcome to the village of Oak Brook. As my good friend Dr. Rao indicated, I've been in the area for more than 30 years in the Oak Brook area, but I've known him for close to 40 years. I think we went on a cruise together in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. First of all, Oak Brook is a small community. We have about 8,000 people or so. At night, in the daytime, we have about 100,000 because we have a huge commercial sector. As you know, the international headquarters of McDonald's is here, and many other large businesses are here as well, and the shopping mall and so on. So even though we are a relatively small and sweet community, we have to be prepared to take care of about 90 to 100,000 people that are here in the daytime. And then when we go to bed, we are down to 8,000. When you wake up, it's again 90 to 100,000. So it's sort of an expanding community in the daytime. So I want to welcome you, and I've heard a little bit about you, Dr. Ramesh, through Leela, as well as every time I go to speak somewhere, I do research the person that I'm going to meet. So I dig deeper, and he's done a tremendous amount of work, obviously, at many of the hospitals that you're associated with as an interventional cardiologist. And today, as you know, the topic is Golden Hour Project, and that's so dear to my heart. I'm a cardiologist, and I'm still practicing, as Dr. Rao correctly stated. And you all know, some of you are doctors here, I know, but many of you may not be, heart attacks as well as strokes. There is that golden hour during which time things have to be done. Either thrombolytic therapy, the blood thinners, I'm sure you're going to address that, or interventions, angioplasties, and stent. As a matter of fact, where I work, in one of the hospitals at Good Samaritan Hospital, they don't call it golden hour anymore. They call it golden half an hour. You know, immediately the patients are rushed in there to the cath lab, and in some cases we've been able to open up the arteries in about half an hour. I know the situation in India is a little more difficult. People take a long time to figure out whether it's even their heart that is hurting them. They think it's indigestion, particularly in women. You know, the symptoms are atypical, and it takes them a few hours to just figure out that it's the heart that is causing the problems. And then the issue of 911, I don't know how prevalent it is now, but when I used to be training in Bombay, I was at KM Hospital, in the 60s and 70s. There was no concept such as that, where people can be emergently taken over to the cath lab and so on and so forth. There was no concept of pre-hospital thrombolysis, for example, which we do have here, but it was just a difficult situation. From my understanding, in India, it still takes most people 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to get to the hospital. And then after that, I believe it takes another hour or two to get things mobilized. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because things may have changed, and I know we are now into the 21st century and even beyond. In many areas of cardiology, India is actually even more advanced than we are. So I'm happy to see you, and I'm happy to listen to whatever new things that you may have to tell us, so that we can all be more aware about what's going on back home in our own country. And I take this moment on behalf of the village of Oak Brook and the residents of Oak Brook to welcome you to Oak Brook, and hopefully this will be one of the first of many, many trips to come. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I come from the humble village of Oak Brook. The mayor, Gopal Lalani, we go a long way. Basically, I am an alumnus of Guntur Medical College and All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and I'm very proud to see you, Dr. Ramesh. You also, you are an alumnus of Guntur Medical College and AIMS. I'm very proud to see you here today. My involvement with the resuscitation programs almost dates back to 33 years. And I've been involved with the American Heart Association for the past 30 years. And currently I'm on the international committee of 10 members. We take care of almost 80 countries, but I'm also the liaison for India. And having said that, our active involvement with the Indian system of resuscitation and simulation dates back almost like 12 years. So about 12 years ago, we initiated the process of implementing the BLS, ACLS, the PALS programs, and recently the ACLS EP for the Experienced Providers course. And when I was growing up, like you, at Andhra Institute of Medical Sciences, the resuscitation was in infancy. So, and I'm very happy and proud to say I go every year, at least once or twice as a visiting professor to various institutes. So when I was giving my lecture at the Andhra Institute of Medical Sciences last year, I'm very pleased to say that as Dr. Gopal Lalmalani was alluding to, the amount of transformation that has occurred, the amount of advances that we see in cardiology is on par with what we see, in places like Harvard. And I'm very proud to say that. Having said that, the resuscitation is, as a science, is in infancy, even though it dates back to the Russians, in 14th or 15th century, where they used to bury the half-dead person and put him in an ice box. Since then, the resuscitation has taken so many upgradings, and the American Heart Association, we are very passionate about resuscitation. What you see, the guidelines of the American Heart Association is a product. Every 5 years, we give the products to the various countries of the world. We are involved with almost each and every country, and again, we are involved with 80 countries. The committee is dedicated to the resuscitation programs. We have a multitude of programs, like the international training centers, and I'm very proud to say today, we have got 63 American Heart Association international training centers. And we have almost like, thousands of American Heart Association instructors. And I'm very proud to share this information. Colonel Ashok, he was my student, who is one of your ACE instructors, and he's a faculty there. He is one of my students, and I'm very proud to see that, he is making so many sacrifices. He's a true Gandhian, so far as I'm concerned. And I'm also very proud to say, and I see mostly the Telugu people here, we are the first university, Dr. NTR University of Medical Sciences is the first university to mandate the ACLS and BLS courses in the academic curriculum in the entire country. And that happened about 6 years ago when Dr. Ivira was the Vice Chancellor. And today, lo and behold, we get so many requests for the international training centers. And especially, I know a little bit about you before you came here, Dr. Ashok was mentioning about you. You are truly passionate about what you do, and you are truly committed, and you're motivated by some personal tragedy. The stroke and all that stuff, And again, stroke, as well as the myocardial infarction, as Dr. Gopal Lal Manali was saying, they are the silent killers. And unfortunately, the Indian system is totally different from here. And we are talking about 108 programs and all that stuff there. And we are working with several governments, with Andhra Pradesh, with Telangana, and the EMRI. We have got programs. Last year, I started a program with the Indian American Medical Association, the American Association of the Cardiologists of Indian origin, and several programs are brewing now. And for the first time, we sent about 4 candidates, residents, as a part and parcel of their residency programs to Hyderabad area, and they stayed there for 1 month and gave the demonstrations to the local people, and it becomes a paper now for the American Heart Association sessions. So again, thank you for giving us an opportunity to share the information, and you can look forward to our help from not only the cardiologists, but from anybody, that owes something back to India, And so far as the American Heart Association is concerned, you can take it for granted, that anything we can do for you, anything we can do for our country, we'll be very happy to do that. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, and good luck to you in your endeavors.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very fortunate to be in this great country and great village, and on a Sunday afternoon, so many people gathering here with a very, very short notice. I'm really excited, and I must thank you all, Dr. Gopal, the mayor of the city, the village, Dr. Murthy garu, and Mr. Sarthi and Leela garu have taken the initiative. Though it is a very short trip, we should try to address the people here, because we met about 2 years ago in New York when we just accidentally, that was to inquire about one of the patients. Mr. Sarthi came, and in the discussion we understood that we align in the passion for Golden Hour project along with one of his classmates, that is Mr. Joint Director Mr. Lakshmi Narayana. So we thought we will move together and then do something different. Though, in fact, I have been practicing in Vijayawada, that is Andhra Pradesh, for the past 3 decades. To start with, it was a non-invasive cardiology setup, because that time Vijayawada, the place was where I was educated. The cardiology, I had to start the first ICCU, and then after 8-9 years, I started a first cardiac cath lab in 1996. But since in the past 3 decades, as you have rightly mentioned, Golden Hour, there was a lot of delay in identifying as the problem whenever a person has got chest pain, saying that it's gastric trouble, and then the local doctors, registered medical practitioners, and by the time they come to the hospital, almost a good number of them are having massive damage. And the same thing continues, like even now, after 30 years, let us say maybe there is some 10-20% change over and above what it was. It is largely because of the silent attacks, perception of the patient, even perception of the physicians. So, in fact, in 1997, I thought I should educate. Sitting in a hospital doing angiograms, angioplasties is much easier. But then trying to educate the whole lot of people is much more important. So what I did was I started printing some matter in a pamphlet form mentioning that Modati Ganta Amulyam. That was my first in 1996. So that means golden hour. That exactly means golden hour. So then we started distributing in the patients, and then several camps which we conducted. the golden hour, the pamphlets. And then we started installing the computerized ECG machines in the mandals and villages where in the periphery where there's no one available to make a diagnosis, whether it is a cardiac or non-cardiac chest pain, especially in the evening times and nights. So that we have done, and then several thousand ECGs were done. We found that it is very helpful. And after that, in 2010, we started an education society, health and education society in the name of Ramesh Health and Education Society. And we started doing some more activities, focusing more on telemedicine. Because we understood that apart from having creating an awareness and having accessibility to advanced healthcare, it is the right time, and then telemedicine is the only way to have a connectivity with the patients. And in the peripheries, we have started around 13 telemedicine centers. But that time it was very, very difficult when we started. There was no fiber grid as we have now in Andhra Pradesh, and we had to obtain special permission from BSNL. We used to spend a lot of money. So now after that, in the past 2 years, when we had a meeting, Mr. Lakshminarayan Garu and Sarthi Garu, so we started going around several places, medical colleges, engineering colleges, and then this Golden Hour project, creating awareness amongst the general public. So, but in the past few months, there was a slight delay, so that is how Sarthi Garu said, we should do something, the pace is slowed down, we should do something. We are coming to Milwaukee, anyhow, my sister's place, why don't we arrange? This was hardly about 10 days ago. But then the way, they have responded, I thought, maybe very difficult, but then he said, okay, we'll try to do something here. So, the beginning and program is very, very encouraging to us. And in the next few slides, I'll just try to focus upon, most of you must be knowing what is Golden Hour, and then the telemedicine services which are available here. And off late, with the existing shortage of infrastructure and human resources, it is the Golden Hour, creating awareness about the Golden Hour, providing accessibility, strengthening the primary care health centers, and connecting them through telemedicine is the way to improve the outcomes in regards to mortality or morbidity, and also the cost-effective delivery of the healthcare system. Fortunately, in Andhra Pradesh now, with the dynamic Chandrababu Naidu CM, and then the nation, you have Modi government, that they seem to be taking a great interest in the Niti Aayog. Now they are also trying to connect the whole country through telemedicine network, which I'll be just sharing whatever we have there. So the other idea of trying to meet is what we have experienced in this Golden Hour project, or in the 4 or 5 districts of patient population which we have. The peripheries, those 60%, 70% of the people live in villages and mandals, they are terribly, they are afraid that after 6 or 7 p.m. there is no doctor available, and because of the problems which they face, sometimes if they lose a patient, nowadays you must be seeing in India the doctors are being sometimes bashed and all. So many people don't open the doors in the night time. So say after 6 p.m. Till next day morning, if somebody has got a problem in mandals or villages, they don't have a doctor. So for the whole answer will be definitely the telemedicine and the ability to provide or connect the primary care centers to the tertiary care centers. So with this introduction, I just try to be brief, probably maybe around 30 minutes. You'll have to bear with me, and probably we may have some time to interact, take your inputs, what you feel, and then probably the basic idea is, since Andhra Pradesh is now equipped with a fiber grid, almost every nook and corner, mandals, villages, every house will be having this internet facility, which is unique in the whole country. In India, this is the first state which has got this connectivity. And with just 149 rupees, that's probably around $2.50 per month, they're providing a net connection, TV facility, and all. So we can explore this possibility of providing better healthcare nowadays with all these telephones, the cell phones and all, with FaceTime facility. We can provide service to those people in the odd hours. So this is the idea, and I'll just try to share what all we have. This will be the just flow plan of the talk. That is Golden Hour, what exactly we mean by Golden Hour, and as he said, Golden half an hour, and Platinum minutes, yes, in some of the diseases, how it is really important in certain diseases. Even some of our professional colleagues, not who are not in this cardiology, the delay, the importance of giving treatment in time, how it is going to make difference. And then brief, I'll touch upon the statistics, what we have in India and what is available here from whatever literature that is available. And as probably most of you know, even in US, 1 in 3 deaths are preventable as per the latest statistics, 2015-2016. Though some progress has been happening, still a lot more to be done to reduce the morbidity, mortality, and to improve the outcomes. And then what's its impact on economy? When we were the students, and then we were never thinking of this economy, what is the impact and all. We were just focusing on how to make a diagnosis, good diagnosis, and how to treat the patient well. But having started the hospital in a small way, and then in the past 5 years, I'm listening about these words, GDP, and then the economic burden, the EBITDAs when you start a hospital. So how to make it viable? So the impact of economy, the whole national economy, because of the diseases, like the diseases, the commonest diseases, and if you can prevent one death, what is its economic gain to the nation? And that is one. And then the trends what have happened, which have been happening in the past 1 decade, and the role of telemedicine, health, telehealth, and what is little experience we have there, and what we are doing probably in your native areas, what probably we can interact and then see how we can improve the areas from which you have come, and how is it in Andhra Pradesh as of now. So this is golden hour is in fact the importance given to the minutes, and wherein when a patient is affected with a serious acute medical illness and or accident, how really your time, the pre-hospital care, which we were not hearing, as doctor has said, we were not hearing about pre-hospital care when we were students in 75s and 80s. Now we know that especially for cardiac diseases or neurological diseases, now pre-hospital care is as important and also connectivity, continuous connectivity to the main hub will definitely bring in a lot of change and really makes difference between life and death. So connecting these tertiary or quaternary care centers with the primary care centers and providing accessibility for the first aid and then during the transit whenever there is a need. And then if you see the statistics, the cardiovascular diseases of the top 10 or 20 leading causes, if you see, still the cardiovascular, the acute myocardial infarction, acute brain stroke, so-called paralysis, or road traffic accidents. These three form a very, very important set which are responsible for the death. And this is going to be there in the next 20, 30 years also. So, and this is what we have, this is a glaring fact, 1 in 3 deaths can be saved, either the data from US or European Union. And before going into that data, we know there are certain modifiable and certain non-modifiable factors. The non-modifiable are the genetic, ethnic factors, the aging and all these things, and certain the factors which have positive and negative impact on the health. So if you see this is the set of diseases wherein the potentially preventable deaths, which include the cardiovascular diseases and then the cerebrovascular and then the chronic respiratory tract infections, cancer, and of course, road traffic accidents. And people, the data, because of the shortage of the personnel and weekends and nights, the mortality and even the ICU mortality is higher than during the busy weekdays when everybody is available. So what has happened now, knowing that there are definitely preventable deaths in the past 10 years or 15 years, after having understood that this is a real fact and we can take certain measures, so these could bring down to some extent the cardiovascular mortality and the stroke mortality, but on the other hand, the accident deaths have been on the rise. This is a very, very important aspect. Though we have brought down the mortality, it is more so in elderly age group beyond the age of 65. But below the age of 65, if you see, between 2001 and 2010, there is no significant drop in the mortality rate, and the deaths could not be prevented in this age group, which is very, very important and a productive period of the life. So even the same story, even in European Union. And now we talked about GDP and growth. We know the impact of providing proper health care delivery to everyone, how it can improve the growth and how a bad healthcare delivery system can adversely affect the GDP growth. So in India, though we say that we have improved the average lifespan for a person born is almost 68 years. Of course, it is much less compared to Japanese and then US, where this is almost, I think, 78 and on. But this is so because of the two important factors. One is the shortage of infrastructure and the trained personnel, and still, even now, almost 60% of the rural and mandal population have to walk 5 kilometers to seek a primary health care, to seek an advice. At odd times, how difficult it is, and many times in the odd hours, nobody is available, even if they go. So they have to travel much, much longer distance. And if you see the statistics in India, against the recommendations, compared to all the BRICS countries, we have only 1 per 1,000, and also the nursing ratio population is also much less. So this problem probably will not be corrected immediately. It's going to take pretty long years. So in the present circumstances where there is shortage, how to reach the people in the periphery? So telemedicine and proper ambulance systems and the robust primary care health centers are the only answers. And these are the 5 major communicable diseases. The same story in India compared to other US or European Union. And one important aspect is, compared to what it was about 3-4 decades ago, the communicable diseases are taken care of. They are coming down, diarrheal diseases and other communicable diseases. And non-communicable diseases, now you can see the percentage of non-communicable disease is growing up. And in India, if you see, this is how we very frequently see a person, 35-year-old, 40-year-old male goes to the office, and then he has some discomfort. Sometimes he doesn't tell the neighbors, and then in the morning he comes with some discomfort. Only in the evening he comes to the hospital. Almost 8-10 hours he keeps working, drinks some soda or something, and then he thinks it is indigestion. Majority, what we have seen, 8 out of 10 patients we see in intensive care unit who are admitted with acute myocardial infarction, they have some warning signals, or they are in the so-called low risk group. That's how they neglect to come to reach early. And then the other important aspect that the statistics give us is 4 crore population in India go below the poverty line every year because of so-called catastrophic health expenditure. This is not there are several factors for this. Our GDP, the ratio, the percentage of GDP allocation to health is meager 1.1% in India. For the past 15 years, it is like that. It is, whereas other countries it is 3 to 4 times higher. It is expected to be much more than this. So that is one area, and then the perception of the patients, the understanding of the disease, and then negligence, and then avoidance or denial. This is another important aspect. So this is how many patients we keep seeing. Even now, this is another area. And then cardiac diseases, as you know, acute myocardial infarctions are not as they are dramatic as shown in pictures, movies, but many times it is silent, and almost 30% of the patients have silent heart attacks or very mild symptoms which they don't even tell the neighbor. So, and this is the area. And then the other most important aspect is the majority of the patients, almost 80-85% of the population, is not covered by the proper healthcare insurance. So they are afraid of going to a hospital for fear of expenditure which they cannot meet. So these are some of the areas because of which still a lot of people go below the poverty line. And this is one of the reasons probably for the people, they cannot get the proper treatment, and they cannot reach, and that is how it is expensive. So that is how they can't reach the proper quality health care. So, and this is what it is. They reach very late in India, and probably in other areas. And these are some of the very very young people who were prominent, whom we lost before they reached their 50. These were the celebrities. Probably some of you may be knowing cine actors and all. And even these are the people. Even our MLAs. We lost one MLA, government MLA, and even cardiologists. They attended a conference and then within 2 weeks. So nowadays, how to identify the hidden disease? Of course, we have this calcium score and the CT coronary angiography, which is coming up in a big way. Probably it will take care of identifying the silent disease or disease in the early phase. And this is another cardiac surgeon who we lost, at the age of 48, because he could not. The disease, of course, this is the problem with the diagnosis, early diagnosis. And this is the data, why Indians have higher incidence. These are all the statistical information. And this is about the stroke, the heart and brain strokes. And this is the magnitude. And if you see this, in Andhra Pradesh, the state of Andhra Pradesh has got very high incidence compared to all other states in India, the incidence of stroke and the emergency responses also. And this is how we try to promote, and probably in every hospital this is there, how to identify features of brain stroke in the early phase, either identifying the, in the facial deviation or weakness in the arm or limb or speech, and time is so very important. So we believe that either heart or brain stroke is definitely preventable, beatable, and it can be treated more effectively. And similarly, with the road traffic accidents, we are also giving importance to create awareness about the road traffic accidents. And as you know, this is the very young age, between 5 and 30 years. It is the second leading cause, road traffic accidents. And a lot of loss, economic, the family loss, and the breadwinners, they often they're breadwinners. And this is to the tune of almost 3% of the GDP. And Indian government now, to help the people who are bystanders, who can really take the people, accident victims. They don't need to worry, because they don't need to reveal their identity. They are not followed up. They are not called to the courts, which was there earlier. All of us, even when we were young, we were taught, no, don't touch the accident victim. When you take, you'll have to go around the courts and to give evidence and all. Nowadays, this law is introduced. And WHO, many times, the reason why, in fact, we were discussing with some of the politicians and all, why the GDP only 1.1%, it is actually 47,000 crores this year. Jaitley has increased from 32,000. But then it is still much lower. So many people do not understand that, and many politicians are probably the statutory, the healthcare sector, they thought that this is not a proper investment, it is waste of expenditure providing health, because it is not visible. But then, this is the recommendation of any industry, compared to any other industry, any other investment in a state, investment in health, appropriate investment in health will definitely bring in more dividends compared to provide employment, to give quality life years, and loss of work hours also can be cut down. So this is the other people who we lost in the road traffic accidents. And in India, the contribution and the economic output, will not go into the details. And these are the three main diseases, like heart, brain attacks, and then the traffic accidents. And the chain of survival, the community response. So this particular aspect, we thought, So even young patients, some of the patients, like he was a 27-year-old, he came from almost about 60, 70 kilometers away from Vijayawada, because he was diagnosed early and then he was brought. He was in cardiogenic shock, he was on ventilator, intra-aortic balloon pump, and he was on pacemaker for almost 7 days, because he was having left main disease. And then at the end of 6 months, he was like this. So, same time, we see even just about 1 kilometer from our hospital, and patients come quite late, after 12 hours, 24 hours, and we have lost some of the very, very young patients also, 35, 40-year-old patients, absolutely because of lack of awareness, and of course, the proper coverage, insurance and all is not there. So similarly, we lost the anyhow, we have established an education society in 2010, and with the idea of creating awareness, because almost for about 20 years. We were treating the patients who were coming to the hospital, but we thought this is not sufficient, and we should go out and by creating more awareness and by having teams and local the STEMI or the Golden Hour teams, and then by linking them with the telemedicine, definitely we can do much more. So it was at that time we met, and then in the past 2 years we started this program. Yeah. Yeah, now you're getting it.
Is it coming?
Yeah. Some slides.
So I think some
Doesn't-
slides will not.
Sorry, it doesn't matter. Okay. So this was initiated, and later, yeah, this is what, in fact, when I started in 1988, we used to carry some patients in the small aircraft to Hyderabad, almost 300 kilometers. So these are some of the pamphlets which we have released to the patients, trying to educate them, like Golden Hour Awareness in 1996. And some of the IME programs we were conducting, going to peripheral Indian Medical Association programs, and then giving them the talks explaining in 1997 about this Golden Hour to create awareness in the neighboring 4 districts. We used to travel, almost conducted over 1,000 camps. Yeah, we were providing computerized electrocardiogram for 20 rupees in the periphery, so that at least the local doctors can identify and obtain some diagnosis. So, and then, yeah. Okay, this is the team, Dr. Ashok, and we have 4 more trainers who are AHA board certified people. We have provided almost free BLS program to around 42,000 people so far in the past 4 years. So I'm very much happy that pleased that Dr. Murthy Garu has been doing such a great service, serving almost so many countries, and then he's got special affinity towards Andhra Pradesh. Definitely we will utilize your service, sir. In fact, last time I wanted to meet you when you came. Vemu Ravi was telling me that we could meet, but then somehow we missed. But we have a lot of passion to educate the people in and around.
Okay, I think you may want to just break for 5 minutes and do some interaction. And
Yeah,
fix
sure,
it and bring it.
sure.
I apologize. I think there's some problem with PowerPoint.
It's okay. So this is what, and the telemedicine centers which we have started, initiated in about 4 years ago. We have now 13 telemedicine centers. Some are our own, and some in the community health centers. We have set up a free community health center telemedicine program in 4 areas. One was my native place, in fact, where I was born. There was one place, where we give teleconsultations, almost 15 to 20, and then conducting some camps also. And one patient we airlifted from the airport from Belgium. He had a chest pain, and then ECG was transmitted. So he was shifted, and then we did emergency radial angioplasty, and 3rd day he flew back to Belgium. So and then another person who was about to contest in the elections, and from Repalle area. So he's transmitted an ECG, and then we could make a diagnosis. He rushed immediately, and then we did a. So likewise, we have several case reports, and then in that particular area, probably it is now in the past 5 years, it has become a very, very regular feature all over. But in AP, the advantage, as I have mentioned earlier, is in the 4 years ago, we used to pay a lot of money to BSNL, the Bharat Sanchar Nigam, to draw a fiber to a place where we wanted, and then the networking, and then a lot of money was being spent. But now our Chief Minister, now we have fiber, along the electrical poles. Within 2 years they could complete the whole state. Now anybody can utilize that. They can have either telemedicine, or even with their cell phone they can interact. So probably our idea in the past 4 or 5 years, we have been interacting and sharing our ideas with the local doctors also. And there a large number of human resources is lying ideal, because many retired people, either medical professionals or paramedical people, all these people can be brought, and then in a mandal, for example, anybody is from either North Andhra, Rayalaseema, all these areas where they are very remote and backward areas. So already some work is being done, but still, if people from here, if they take up their native place, our idea is if they take up their native place, and then because they'll be knowing a lot of people there, and then the local area where they can influence, they can better create the awareness about this golden hour program, and also the telemedicine concept. And if you monitor every week, what is happening, how many people are really saved by night calls, or then how you can refine the technology, and if you keep providing, keep monitoring in your own area, then that's going to be probably create a big impact, and the Andhra Pradesh probably will become a model state. Yeah, this is more.
I'll drive it. You just tell me this.
Yeah, that particular one which you have shown,
Yeah,
just above that. Yeah, this is the pamphlet which we released with a lot of patients, and then in many camps, medical camps, we used to distribute this. So like Modati Gantam Amulyam. There used to be.
You just tell me, I'll move.
Yeah, okay. So, this is the IMA programs which we used to conduct, and explaining the doctors there about the very importance of first hour. Predominantly, we were focusing on cardiology at the time, how important in acute myocardial infarction. So next, this is the computerized ECGs we have established with the GE machines there. So in the periphery, in the mandals at that time, giving about 20 rupees. Yeah. Next, please. So these are all the camps which we have conducted, and predominantly these are all BPL patients. And very, it is not surprising, because when we were students, we were thinking that acute myocardial infarction is disease of affluent males more than 60, 70. Now we keep seeing, almost in Vijayawada, our 60% of the angioplasties or cardiac bypass surgeries which we do is for below the poverty line segment in Vijayawada. So it is very, very common, even in auto drivers, rickshaw drivers, even in farmers, it is very common. The disease is very, very common now. And this is the team. Yeah, this is Dr. Ashok, who is a proud consultant. Dr. Murthy Garu was mentioning. So he has a lot of passion. He has conducted a number of programs in and around the 4 or 5 districts, and these are all the board certified team we have. Next. Yeah, these are all some of the programs which we conducted. Next. Yeah. These are all the school students and the college students, and then the paramedical people also which we have done. Next. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Can have some voice here. Yeah. This is Mr. Lakshmi Narayana, probably most of you may be knowing. He has a lot of passion, and as he mentioned, 2 years ago when he met Mr. Patsarthi Garu, when he was here, during a daily morning walk, one of his neighbors collapsed. I mean, the co-walkers collapsed, and then he gave cardiac massage. He, gave him CPR, but of course he could not be saved. So likewise, he has a lot of passion for that, and we thought we'll come forward and then promote this to create this awareness, and then also establish robust primary care health centers. Next. Yeah. Next. Yeah, next. Go ahead. Just scroll. This is another important, this previous one, yeah. Another young fellow, 22-year-old electrician, who was he was working in a jewelry shop next to almost 2-3 minutes away from our hospital. So he had an electric shock. He arrested. Then the people, some neighbors know, his friends knew the massage and the BLS. They brought him with that, and then he was found to have ventricular fibrillation when he was brought, and then we gave cardiac shock. And this is the first case which I have seen electric shock patient being revived. So because it was just adjacent to our hospital, we could do that. And these are all the areas where we have given, along with Lakshmi Narayana Garu, some of the colleges. And yeah, this is the hospital. In fact, next please. Yeah, we have a separate 2 casualties now in our hospital. One is a golden hour casualty, and the other is routine for other cases. So just to impress upon the people that there is something like a golden hour. So, yeah, this is already the team. Yeah, next please. Yeah, in fact, we are conducting a STEMI India conference, national conference in July 1st and 2nd. I happen to be one of the course directors and then organizing secretary. About 4 cardiologists from here are coming over there, sir. Some of them are from AP, and one JAC imaging, Dr. Jagat Narula. He's editor of Jagat. So, yeah, he's also coming over there. We were colleagues in AIMS, so he also agreed to come over there in Vijayawada. So we are conducting this prestigious program wherein we want to bring in awareness, and also to the state government, them to realize and to make them understand the importance of this, because people, state government is always a little worried about the expenditure involved in all this. But we all know, for acute heart attack, if you do emergency angioplasty or pharmacoinvasive therapy, if you give fibrinolysis and do this, then the cost of the treatment is more or less the same, but the outcomes are much better. The morbidity and mortality are much better. So that once we make them understand, it is easier. Yeah. So as we have mentioned, there is shortage, especially in the peripheral areas, the community health centers. There is great shortage of personnel. Next. In AP, they have now taken up very advanced ambulances, almost 32 ambulances to reach the place. Next, please. Yeah. And telemedicine, these are all the next. Go ahead. So most of you know about the telemedicine, and then you can reduce the 70% of the doctor's visit and 40% of the ER visits. Next. Yeah, next. Because of improved access to the health care services and reduced cost. Next, please. You can achieve 45% reduction in mortality by appropriately utilizing the telemedicine, and then also augmenting the primary health care centers. And then you can reduce the number of unnecessary emergency admissions, and then the the average length of stay also can be reduced. Next, please. And then not only the outcomes, it is the cost that will be brought down significantly. Only people really need to spend, they'll have to spend, and you can avoid unnecessary expenditure for some of the people. Next. Yeah. Next. Next, please. So this is what is trying to bring in. Niti Aayog is trying to bring in a lot of change in the next 2012 to 2017. The central and some of the state governments are have decided to connect almost all the healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers, to the community, the population. But however, this is not sufficient. Only the government setups cannot do. All of us have to come together like a public-private partnership, where we are providing service to the below the poverty line people. Yeah, next. This is what in Andhra Pradesh, almost all the areas, health education. Now there is a concept the health department has initiated. The medical students are going to the villages to educate the people. They are going in groups. Almost it has become a regular course. This is called as Swasthya Vidyawahini program, initiated by our Chief Minister here. Next, please. Yeah, this is another probably a prestigious program, probably most of you know, which was initiated almost around 9 years ago. The Arogyasri scheme for below the poverty line people, and we are, it's one of the very great schemes wherein the access to the tertiary healthcare centers is provided even to the very, very poor patients. Next. Yeah, next, this is the, what, the cable connects with the healthcare. This is what I wanted to, probably, some of you may not be knowing, and this is already almost on the verge of being initiated. In some areas it is already started. Next. Next please. Yeah, these are very advanced ambulance systems are being provided now to the people of Andhra Pradesh. Next. Yeah. Yeah, next. Yeah, you must have heard the BART has released recently in news that with 4,000 rupees you can have an ECG. Yeah, this is previous one. This is going to bring sea change in the healthcare system, especially because this will improve apart from recognizing acute heart attack victims, and then with the telemedicine centers you can address all this triad also. And this one, we in fact we have been spending now for telemedicine centers. The ECG machine we buy for 50,000 rupees for transmission. This part of ECG that company. So once this is available all over the country with 4,000 rupees, if you can almost, it can become a household. Everybody can buy. 4,000 rupees is nothing. So this eagerly we are waiting how fast they can be. They can release into the market. Next, please. Yeah, you probably, some of you may have heard, he's the president of Public Health Foundation. He was our teacher also, Srinath Reddy from AIMS.
He was my senior, 4 years.
Yeah. So he taught me how to do an angiogram in 1983.
He was also the president of the World Heart Federation.
Yes.
He just quit his job, position a couple of years ago.
Yes.
A tremendous innovative guy.
Yes.
Hats off to him.
Right. So he has, with his guidance, this is Swasthya slate. This one where you get for very, very small price, you get almost 33 tests that includes ECG. So once this is also available in a massive scale, very quality healthcare can be provided to almost the whole country. These are, next please. Yeah, some of the telemedicine centers which we have initiated in our area, though we had to, in fact we thought of starting 50 telemedicine centers in 3 years time, but we could start only 13 because of the some of the problems there. Next. Yeah. So this is all about it, and I thought I would share whatever little experience I have, and I keep hearing many times parents, the daughters or sons coming over there, and then they feel quite bad that their mother or father was brought very late, or after a day or so, and though they can afford anything, they say we can afford anything you do, but then sometimes we lose patients with massive congestive heart failures, LVFs and all. So we can definitely, the basic concept of this golden hour project is you need not be a doctor, still you can save a life. So this is the slogan with which we are going, and many people now they are showing interest, they are learning, and at least apart from providing the primary care, they'll have the understanding of the basic the emergency diseases. So with this, I think I'll stop here, and I'm extremely thankful for the patient hearing, and I'll be very happy to hear from you about your ideas and your suggestions, and this is just a very small beginning, and in the next 4 to 5 years we would like to form bigger teams and then see that this concept is promoted, and we want to make Andhra Pradesh as a model state. So we want to start with Krishna district and then make Andhra Pradesh a model state in healthcare delivery. Thank you.
A few comments. So firstly, I want to congratulate you from the bottom of my heart, and this is tremendous. The presentation that you gave from India, coming from India, is spectacular. I'm glad you're talking about the WHO. The American Heart Association, we spent millions of dollars in research and all that, and we work in unison with World Health WHO, and we are consultants, for WHO. And most of the policies, they are molded, by the American Heart Association, and also the input from the World Heart Federation, WHF, and not to speak of the outstanding contributions from the Europe per se. Europe is somewhat more advanced in some technologies, even when compared to the United States. Recently, I was contacted last year by a company from France. These people are delivering the drone delivered AEDs.
Yeah.
You must be aware of that, So it is very fascinating.
Yeah.
I never seen, except maybe in the military, the drones delivering to your backyard,
Yeah.
the so-called, we call golden minutes, first 4 golden minutes, delivering the drone to the back door. And that there is, the science is exploding. I'm very happy, actually, you can create a model for the entire country. Just like we created the model in a humble way with the American Heart Association in Gujarat, with the previous Chief Minister of Gujarat, Anandiben Patel, whom we met, and she promised, and we had the pilot project of saving the children's lives. When every 4th or 5th child in India is dying before the age of 5 because of the non-communicable diseases. We're not talking about heart attacks and strokes. We're talking about basic things like pollution and all that. And so we were able to just pilot that project, and now that project would like to bring to our Telugu states, both the Telugu states. And we face so many hurdles. So whenever a program has to go through, so many hoops, it really takes a long time. But again, people like you, who have who have resources, you've got contacts and all that will make a lot of difference. This is what I would like you to create a model for the entire country. It is good to think local and act global. So you are initiating a process already. To my knowledge, there is nobody in the entire country. I traveled quite a bit in India, from north to south, east to west. Nobody has come up with this brilliant idea of the golden hour, focusing mostly on the myocardial infarctions as well as the stroke. And here medical legal reason, Dr. Gopal Malani will tell you, how much time you need to do for medical legal reasons, for angioplasties and all that, PCIs and all that stuff. I'm not getting into that. So there are 3 things I would request you to consider. And I know you have got the great support of the entire missionary of Andhra Pradesh, I'm hoping. And because you are a leader, I can see the illuminating leadership in you. Number 1, focus on the communities. The community, in fact, one of my trainees, one of my instructors, Dr. Srinivas Ramaka from Warangal, he's a cardiologist. He has conducted thousands of CPRs.
Yeah.
And he is, I don't know if you are aware,
I heard.
he's MDDM, and he is my student, And he went into the Limca record. His name is the Limca record. So in December, last December, I was in Tirupati as a visiting professor there. So Srinivas also came. Our Prime Minister, Modi, he was about to go there. And so they wanted us to create, the awareness among the police people, the CPR. And I was asked to do that, and unfortunately, because of the time constraints, I couldn't do that. Srinivas Ramaka trained about 800 police people or so within 1 day. So there are people, there are very dedicated people like yourself and Srinivas Ramaka, I can see that. So there are 3 aspects you should think of. First, to the state of Andhra Pradesh, and slowly to the entire nation. Community projects. Community awareness should start at the age of 8 or 9, whenever, age is no barrier, as long as the person can give compressions, by standard CPR. Here I started a project in the state of Illinois called the Project SMILE, Saving More Illinois Lives Through Education. And it is a statewide project, where we go to the communities and give the presentation. Thanks to Dr. Gopal Malani, and thanks to Dr. N.S. Rao, we also give the presentations in Temple as well as here. That is something you have to develop. We already have a program written, scripted, and it's a PowerPoint presentation, and you go there, and it is written in Telugu. Dr. Ramaka has translated into 14 Indian languages. And in Telugu, it is fabulous. Only thing is, it is in the Grandhika Bhasha. You have to really translate into the colloquial language, the rural language, number 1. Number 2, when you go to the villages and all that, the one question they will always ask is, okay, you do the CPR, and then you hands on the CPR, and then no mouth to mouth, the first few minutes, barring the exceptions and in children and other things, And then what do we do? Because there is no transport. I went to, as a visiting faculty to EMR, I gave several lectures there, The first and foremost question is, people ask, what do you do after you see that here, the response time in Oak Brook, Dr. Gopal Lalmalani will tell you, is 3 to 4 minutes. 3 minutes.
Yeah.
4 minutes, we really get apprehensive. 3 minutes, number one. So that is something that has to be taken care of. And again, there are some constraints to the traffic and all that stuff, So that is a big barrier in India.
Yeah.
Big barrier. You call 108 and you don't know what to do, You save the patient, but the patient will die during transport to the hospital. And that's why this golden hour concept is much more comprehensive than just, give the CPR and wait for the ambulance system. Until the ambulance system is developed in India, it may take some time.
Yeah, Green Channel is developed by, in that state, Maharashtra, Lakshminarayan Garu has introduced.
Yeah,
the
he
Green
started,
Channel
yes.
concept.
That's one that I am aware
That
of.
is
That.
a-
And I'm, again, personal.
We are coordinating with both law enforcement and medical team.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think you really need to, get into the basic system of the villages. As my, Dr. Ashok, Colonel Ashok has been doing a great job. The hands-only CPR for the nurses, it doesn't need to be an AHA course. So I wanted to develop a program for the communities targeted. And more importantly, as we do here, it's almost mandatory. And it took us a long time for the American Heart Association to get into some of the states to make the high school education, CPR education mandatory. There are still about 10 to 12 states, that are not doing well with the CPR.
Yeah.
That you have to tell Chief Minister
Yeah,
to have the CPR class mandated for all high school students and college students.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Help.
The second one, I really would like you to focus on the women's health.
Yeah.
Here we have the
Red-
Go Red for Women
Red,
program.
yeah, Go Red.
And unfortunately, the women are the last paid people to knock on the doors of the doctors. In a way, men are wimps. We complain a lot, but not the women. So that is universal, not necessarily in
Yeah.
India. So we really need to make sure that you teach selectively for the women. And number three, last but not the least, you focus also on the AHA courses for the people, because AHA courses you really need to have as a center and all that stuff. So with all these three ideas, and again, we are here to help you from the American Heart Association perspective, and we have got a lot of community leaders, Dr. N.S. Ragaru and everybody else, and we will be partners with you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, if you don't mind, if you please take some questions from our
Please,
audience.
please.
So, I think, you just mentioned about high school CPR education. That was a big part for me in high school, was that I was certified in CPR. I thought it was a big help, and a lot of jobs in the office, they offer CPR instruction. So you mentioned, BLS training. They do it at the colleges, and you've been providing it for emergency medical professionals and all of that. Just a personal interest of mine has always been to extend BLS training into the villages, into the communities. Is something like that in your works right now, or is that something you're looking into in the future?
Yeah, we are doing it. Actually, our community health centers are in mandals and villages. So 4 community health centers we have taken up the state government, and we are doing, we have deployed our people there. We pay them, we train them, and then that is how we have been doing. So in the periphery, it will be more important, that's what we are discussing. So periphery, the retired paramedical people or the local doctors, they need to be trained first. This of course we started and we thought we should do, and then in the periphery it is much more relevant, and we are definitely planning that.
So I guess I'm just clarifying, are you training, the professionals in that area, or you're training the general population itself?
Yeah, this is the students and all are there, school and in the peripheries we are training the doctors there,
Okay.
and also the paramedical staff, the nurses, male and female nurses and all. We are focusing more on them.
Okay.
And
And
then we have
eventually
research.
to expand?
Yeah, it's going to, that's what, the main reason for me is, for 4 years we've been working hard, Dr. Ashok, pulls up some time and then he goes, and then our other people also, but then everyone is very busy. So what we thought is, the people from this area, it goes in a more stronger way. If you are somebody native of a particular district or a mandal, they go and say that this is a very, very important program. You have to learn and listen and then attend these programs and create a small telemedicine center. And then involve the local doctors there, the politicians and all, they are the people. Then take it forward. They definitely, even though we have set up these 13 centers, it's not up to the mark we expected people should utilize it, because people are so ignorant. So even if you put, they think it is commercial or business, or they don't have time. I'm healthy, why should they look at that? They turn their face other side. So people from the, who want to do native to their native place, they can form committees. One coordinator is sufficient to give them the feedback. They should start inquiring and how monitoring, and then guide them. So it becomes very easy, because the number of retired doctors, number of retired government setup, and the private doctors are not very busy, who cannot move out because they don't want to move. But they can sit and then they can give 8-10 hours, they can be on call, and then you can have a big list of doctors who can be on call in a particular time line. So in future, it's going to happen, whether we do it or somebody else is going to do, that is the only way. Yeah, everybody is pushed hard to go for golden hour training, strengthening primary healthcare centers, linking, and then with the telemedicine, the big list of doctors will be available in future. 1,000 doctors will be available, specialists in each specialist, because it need not be confined to location, geography. It can be from anywhere, and you can link globally the telemedicine centers and all. So that way you can have expertise, second opinion, and all these things. It's going to make a lot of change in the next 5 years. We're going to see. It's very exciting.
I have a question. My name is Sundar and I am part of the Chicago Andhra Association. Just like Sandhya, she mentioned, she's a doctor. And there are a lot of youth who are doctors, who are in the college right now, who are undergoing medical education. If they want to come to India and then help, volunteering with your organization, are there any opportunities like that, which, we will be aware of?
Yeah, in fact, for these telemedicine centers, we are trying to pick up some people in our nursing category, and then who are from that geographical area, from that native village or mandal. We are trying to push them to stay there and then give 24-hour service. But this is not going to be sufficient. So we have to have a central command. We had plans to have a central command station, and then to provide the service. Apart from that, a training center also, where from different districts people can come, and then we have to provide 1 day, 2 day stay, and then to do this program. So likewise, it can be established over a period of time in the local area. Our instructor can go to that particular area in a district on pre-specified timings, and they can go do that. We have a lot of plans to do, but then it's going to be a little slower pace.
I guess your question is if you can send our children down to
Exactly.
India.
Yeah, my question is.
The students need, they can send to Guntur, and then they can stay there and then do the volunteering hours. Can you do that?
You would welcome that option.
Yeah,
We welcome that opportunity to have students from here.
Now in Guntur and Vijayawada, we have a lot of space. We can give accommodation.
So it worked for the global experience,
That
and
is
it will
right,
be a
that
good
is
thing.
right. And then people have passion to.
I worked in Guntur for some time. I think it's a good way to
Good exposure.
experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think my question is partially answered, but I'm thinking about having in high schools here that as you said, most of the kids are trained who is interested about the CPR. So if the schools as a part of the physical education, high school students and colleges in India, if they can keep a CPR as a part of their
mandatory course,
Yeah.
as Dr. Murthy was mentioning.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should happen. I mean, it should be.
and yeah, that's one thing. And I usually notice like most of the adults who travel in the flights, they will definitely, if they have some inherent problem, the problem comes out after getting down. So is it good idea to have your health center at the airport?
Yeah, we have, for the past 3 years, we have, that's how we have lifted agency on patient also from Beijing. We have another airport, Vijayawada airport.
I have one input, sir. Since you said, you are not able to reach the goal of providing the appropriate CPR to the general public because they are like, okay, we are healthy, we don't need to look at this right now until they really fall into the pit. Right, so for that, how about, it's just an input, maybe you already might have got it. About like, okay, if any one of the family member has a CPR certified, then you might get some medical discount,
Yeah.
In that way, everybody will want to carry the card as an Aadhaar card.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Like a Red Cross registration.
Like a Red Cross card.
Like a Red Cross card, if you can have one from Golden Hour certified.
Yeah. Not only that, you'll come across now in different languages, how can we catch the bird, so that they don't fall into the pit.
You can announce 10% discount in your hospital for all these.
They give a Golden Hour certification and then run a program like Golden Hour.
So I think there's a question.
Ramesh, I'm glad you know that you're a Rotarian.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm a Rotarian. Recently, we had a project, opened a dialysis center in Hyderabad, in Secunderabad, with 12 beds and so forth. There is a training element in education about awareness, because I strongly believe in awareness, no matter how much knowledge you have, like this, I strongly endorse that kind of idea. Coming from a doctor, I appreciate that. Now we are trying to have a cancer treatment center also in Vijayawada. I'm working on that project. I think if you could some motivate, particularly the awareness campaigns, particularly in medical schools, something like that. I have a position, distinguished professor position in Mings Medical College in Nillimarga. And so there is a way that you can formulate a program to actually give a tablet. I think we must have a structured program or something like that. I can be a beggar. I can go there and tell them, look, can you accept this for creating awareness? You don't have to do anything. Just create awareness, because there are students that are going there, and as you said, to the villages and so forth. And there is a blood moving center. Just recently, I'm working on a project for Hyderabad again. And that moving center will go to the various villages to collect blood. And probably we can ask our fellow Rotarians to also impart training at that time. At least carry the message. Produce another 1 lakh pamphlets like you did to create awareness. And same thing we can do in our place also in these two areas. I come from Vijayawada area. I go there every year, volunteer 2-3 months. And so maybe we can talk to off camera here. We can talk about, see how we can cooperate in this kind of thing.
Yes, sir. There is tremendous scope and need, in different segments, different areas. And I'm sure, with the availability of the networking and people will definitely, local people will definitely think about it and they will do that. So we also try to expand our scope of services. That is the precise idea of coming here. And we have plans to come in the next 3 to 4 months again with a team, and then going around.
There are so many enthusiasts here. The very fact that you mobilized such short notice, thanks to Leela Verishi.
She's out.
So many people came by the Sunday afternoon. Our frustration is when we go to India, nobody talks to us. And that's the problem. And how do you create an atmosphere? They say there are plenty of money.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, you are the guys who should really do something about this.
Our chief operating officer is there, Mr. Gopi Krishna. So he will give his all ideas and all. We are creating a network how to take care of, of course, apart from improving patient quality and then post-discharge, all these things we have started. That is another initiative from the hospital side, and let's say different. But training centers and all, as you said, to spread it over Andhra Pradesh. In fact, we are planning to go Lakshminarayana to Vizag and also to Tirupati in the next 3 months. So we are trying to address the universities there so that we can go faster.
Somebody is working for you already. Mohan Prasad sent me an email this morning. I saw the email.
Yeah.
His man is coming, go ahead, and he said, I already committed to come here anyway.
Sir, I have a question. I recently lost one of my uncle. He walks every day in the morning 4 kilometers, evening 4 kilometers, eats on time and sleeps on time. But the reason for the loss of him is calcium formation in the valves, which we have. I haven't heard. First time maybe I heard somebody has calcium in the knee or somewhere,
right?
But not in the heart. Is it a thing which is already there, or doctors doesn't know? Or
very important question, which in fact is my passionate subject. Nowadays, see, the whole 40-50 years in the past, the whole community, medical community has been talking about changing the lifestyle, eat this, eat that, and then do exercise, and this will prevent your heart attack, which is not correct. Absolutely, it is found to be wrong, because now, if you see in our acute intensive care unit patients who are admitted with acute heart attack, more than 50% of them have low risk factors or so-called low risk category, which we call. See, when we sit in the OPD, a person with 55-year-old comes and then says, "Check, doctor, check how is my heart?" Then we say, "Oh, blood pressure is normal, you don't have sugar, you don't have diabetes, you don't have cholesterol, high cholesterol, you don't have family history, fine, you don't have." But then that is wrong. Now, 50% of the people admitted with heart attack are in the low risk group. Now, what we have is so-called calcium score and CT coronary angiogram and CT FFR, which is likely to come up. So now this calcium score is one of the most important parameters now. I mean, Dr. Gopal is here. I think he would agree with me. When you see the calcium score and CT coronary angiogram, if you have in a 50-year-old person, it is no plaques, no calcium. It is a 15-year warranty test. In JARC, April 2015, there was an article published wherein they have followed almost for 15 years, 9,000 odd patients, and they have found that less than 1% chance. So if you say that 99% chance that you will not have a heart attack in the next 15 years for a 50-year-old male, that's a tremendous news for him. Because when anybody asks, then we say, okay, you control the blood pressure, you walk and all, but then we never give that warranty. Now they have mentioned in the article name itself, warranty against heart attack, 15-year warranty. So in fact, we purchased in the hospital about 5 days ago ICT 256 LICT. It is second machine in the country. It is almost $2 million machine. When I purchased, my cardiology colleagues were saying it's waste, we don't believe in it. Because CT coronary angiogram, it is not equivalent to invasive, a lot of radiation and all. Now we know pretty well that with the heart rate of 60, heart rate is controlled, patient can hold breath. It gives more information than invasive angiogram in certain areas like bifurcation, osteal, or whatever. And then if a person has got calcium 0, if I have a 0 calcium and my age, the other person has got 1000 calcium, then the chances of his having heart attack are 37 times more. So the 37 times higher, so it is a graded risk that is now noticed in all the studies. So the calcium score is one of the very, very important aspects. But of course, in younger patients, it doesn't, totally exclude. If you have a CT coronary angiogram, a good picture with ICT, now you're getting beautiful pictures. It is exactly equal to the invasive angiogram. We have studied in several patients. We have done almost 8,000 CT coronary angiograms in our center, apart from 75,000 invasive coronary angiograms. Invasive coronary angiogram, and as we go to the cath lab, and then we are surprised sometimes to see what is this happening. Triple vessel disease, and we expect this person with diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, 75-year-old, we expect, oh, left vein and triple vessel disease, his coronaries are absolutely clean. So the tests, so-called false positive treadmill or false positive, are the very high radiation of your stress thallium test, that 20 millisieverts. Compared to that, this is going to be the test. CT coronary angiogram is good. That's what Dr. Narula and I was talking. Dr. Jagat Narula was my senior in RNA Institute of Medical Sciences. They came to Delhi just about 3 weeks ago. So he was also saying the CT coronary angiogram, somehow it has not picked up even in US, because all the intermediate risk patients, because 50-year-old male almost automatically falls into intermediate risk. So if you do that, calcium score, if the calcium score is 0, no plaques are there, if you do CT angio, he becomes a mid-risk, becomes low risk, and calcium score is high, he becomes high risk. So that is how to grade the people and then to identify the disease, to prevent sudden cardiac death. I am convinced, I am very strong proponent of this, though many of my colleagues do not agree, the cardiologists. And this is one test which is going to definitely give you predict. I'm sure if you see that your uncle must have had triple vessel disease, if you do the postmortem, if you do, they'll have triple vessel disease, 90% will have, and the disease is there for more than 15-20 years. If you find a 30% plaque in a CT coronary angiogram, there's got 3 times higher incidence of heart attack. If it is there, so earlier we would take 30% disease is no disease, absolutely okay, you say you're all right. No, now we have more and more evidence, and then if you intervene when the blocks are only 50% or 70%, or at least patient will know. In fact, my brother, my family members, in fact, my younger brother, we purchased the CT angiogram, and then he was in Hyderabad. I was asking him to come, he was never coming. After 1.5 years, he came to attend a function. I put him in the CT. He was having 90% proximal LED, so-called widowmaker's lesion. So I stented it immediately the next day. And my elder brother, to tell you example, we did a CT angiogram about 3 years ago. He was having right coronary artery disease, stenosis 60%. So we gave him all medication and all. He's a CD producer, a lot of patients and all. So about hardly 2 weeks ago, he came with the discomfort, some vague, he was not, because he knew it is 60%, he came, and then it progressed to 99%, we stented immediately. So even in my family members, I have many surprises. And my chairman, in fact, the photograph is not there. The passion, what Dr. Murthy was telling, because my chairman is one of the greatest supporters. He's the godfather of our family. His wife in Chennai had a stroke. Like, she fell down from the midnight around 1 o'clock. She went to one prestigious hospital, and at 6 o'clock only the CT scan was done. So she lost 5 hours. And she's bedridden, she's in our hospital. She's in one of the rooms there. She cannot speak, she cannot walk. She's, only the whole right side is paralyzed. And my uncle spends, my chairman sir happens to be my uncle. And he spends almost a lot of time for the past 7 years, the way he takes care of her. And that's how she's alive even today.
Here, the CT angio did not pick up to a large extent. One is the false positives, AFib, and any PVCs. You cough or sneeze, it's all screwed up, and insurance companies don't pay for it. Nobody is ready to pay out of their pocket. So there are a lot of things. Calcium score, a lot of hospitals and some of our own group, and actually we're doing it like as a campaign for $50 or whatever, 100 as a just like your fair, health fair kind of thing. Yeah, when you do that, a lot of people come and do it. And just like when you do a regular new office visit, on top of that you pay $50 or anything, because there is no recurrent dye or anything, anybody can walk in and get it done, go away. But the CT angio, because of false positives, anybody who has previous stents, you're done. And bypass clips, you're done. Any metal hardware, you're done. So the actual clinical application and limitations of CT angio, unless you have a 240 slice, regular 64 slice, and I was trained in CT angio and how to interpret that, and a lot of false positives, and then you go for angiogram. After that, for nothing, I went through all these things, and there was little bad feedback on that. But calcium score, yes, definitely I agree, and it's easily done. No, you don't have to check the kidney function or anything, walk in, walk out, but it adds to your pretest probability so much. And then I think that's calcium score stuff really applicable to the general population. Whereas CT angio, again, it's as good as somebody who is doing it, processing it, reading it. There are a lot of technical, just like your ultrasound, and it's a nuclear and it's most unclear medicine somebody calls, and because it's as good as somebody process the thing, and nobody looks at the counts and score and the motion artifact. So some centers has very good accuracy, some centers, and it's okay, it is there, it is not there. So calcium score, I think it's universally applicable everywhere, even in small centers also.
Yeah, I mean, very, very valid points. These were the discussions which we had about 4 or 5 years ago with my colleague cardiologist. I fully agree with you. With a 64 slice compared to a 256 slice ICT, and what the major complaint, what our patients had, we make the patients wait. We give them evaporatin, we give them beta blocker, we give them everything. We sometimes make them wait if the heart rate doesn't come down up to 60, 65. I can show you any number of videos I have pictures, CT current angio pictures, because in a lot of conferences the same argument comes, it is useless in some, good number of patients. No, in fact, if you see that absolutely in osteal lesions, bifurcation lesions, where you miss, and even our cardiologists now, they argue because you take in 2-3 angles, invasive coronary angiogram, it looks only 40-50 to them. Then they argue. Then that shows a plaque inside, and then it is 70-80% because it's 360 degrees rotation. When you do FFR, then it is positive. Then they ignore. The cardiologist, in fact, in one of the corporate hospital, cardiologist has left because they have purchased a CT coronary angiogram, because cardiologist wants to give the diagnosis, not the machine. Let me tell you, this is one of the reasons. So he says, I can do angiogram in 5 minutes. Then I say, I will not give you my radial artery, renal artery for you to puncture. I want the machine. And nowadays, even your the UK, your NICE guidelines published in June 2016, and even TCT, they say that the depth of stress test almost. Depth of stress test like your nuclear or treadmill test, it misguides you, and the CT angiogram moves to the forefront in the evaluation of the chest pain. So, and as you said, in stented patients, one patient I'll tell you recently, about 3 weeks ago, one of the ministers, so he underwent 2003, he underwent a LED stenting. Every year he was going to NIMS Hyderabad, every year he was getting a nuclear stress test. 20 millisieverts per year he was getting, right? Okay, so then he came, my last year I got it done, okay, but then I have some vague burning sensation and all in Vijayawada. Then we did CT current, he was having 99% lesions in 2 vessels, which I'm sure were there for at least 2-3 years, 4 years. At least 70-80% were there. So, I mean this, so stented patients, if it is more than 2.75 millimeters stent diameter, you can do, provided of course again you have to, in stented lesions compared to the original vessels, slight, you have to be cautious before interpreting. And post-EABG is one of the best tests because it is grafts you will be able to know, because grafts less often get calcified. So nowadays it is the test which is recommended in post-bypass patients. CT carotid angiogram. We have done a lot of patients for in post-bypass patients. So, and then complete occlusions in post-bypass, complete occlusions if you want to open beyond the vessel, sometimes you see the lesion, the vessel, outline profile also. Yeah, I agree with you. And then the people were commenting about a lot of radiation, 100 X-rays radiation. Now you know that X-ray radiation we have done with 0.8 millisieverts, the CT coronary angiogram, and one we have published also. So this very low dose against your 3 millisieverts background radiation all of us have per year. So this is very less radiation. So I am a very strong proponent. I have seen 70, I have in fact read almost, I read all the angiograms which are done in the past 20 years, 75,000 invasive angiograms I have read, I have 8,000. So even stable chest pain, the NICE guidelines say that even of course this is symptomatic patients, even asymptomatic patients, there is a study coming up, unpublished data is there. Asymptomatic patients, you have stenosis segment, stenosis score. If you have even 30-40%, that is as predictive as in symptomatic patients. Though your AHA and inappropriateness criteria, still they are keeping it as uncertain.
Actually, that symptomatic thing is such a big thing.
Yeah.
How symptomatic, how much you walk from car to the house, or if I push you to walk a little more, and when you're symptomatic, and I actually tell them we have 2 flights of the office, tell them go 2-3 times, come back, see how gasping you are, and because you never gasp that much, because you never do that much. Though that symptomatic, asymptomatic is also a big thing. Because most of them are symptomatic if you push them.
Yeah, sudden cardiac death is the first symptom in 50% of atherosclerotic patients. So where does the real, we all talk about, you do this only when the patient is symptomatic, invasive angiograms. I think when we were students, invasive angiogram was, recommended after 4 weeks after MI. We were scared to touch the patient for that.
What about Dr. Lakshman Rao's days?
Yeah. So he was, in fact, Dr. Lakshman Rao built up the ICU in Guntur in 1970s. In fact, he is a great motivator for us.
So there's a question here.
Yeah, there's a question.
Yeah, it's concerned the same thing, but we continuously hear calcium deposits, okay? We always hear like a high cholesterol due to food or not doing exercise kind of thing. What is the main cause of calcium deposit? What is usually patients should aware of taking to prevent those deposits?
Yeah. Nobody knows why natural score is more in certain patients. But once you have a natural score, progression. But on an average, every year, almost 6 to 7% increase in the calcium score happens.